In the lands between, legends are rarely kind. Kings are cursed, gods are shattered, and heroes tend to die with their hands still reaching for something they'll never hold. But every so often, you meet someone who's different. Someone whose name doesn't echo because of a throne they claimed or the blood they spilled, but because of the way they carried themselves between battles. Iron Fist Alexander is a warrior made of clay and courage. He isn't a demigod. He isn't chasing power to bend the world to his will. He's chasing something simpler and maybe rarer. Fights worth remembering and companions worth standing beside. His journey is a string of meetings and partings, each one a reminder that strength isn't always measured in victories. Sometimes it's how you show up for others, and how you face the moment when it's finally your turn to fall. So who is Alexander, and why does this wandering warrior drawer leave such a lasting mark on a world where almost everything breaks? Out on the rolling green hills of Stormhill, past the Saint's Bridge, the air is restless. The wind is flowing through the grass, wolves are pacing the ridges, and somewhere in the distance, the ring of steel on steel. But over all of it, there's a voice. Deep, booming, and full of life. It's like a festival announcer calling out over a crowd. It carries across the field in a way that feels impossible in this place, where most greetings come at the tip of a blade. Following the sound, you find him. A massive iron-banded jar, wedged in the earth up to his rim. There's nothing threatening about the way he looks at you. If anything, his posture leans forward in expectation, as if you've just arrived right on time for something he's been looking forward to all day. He greets you with a warmth and pride, introducing himself as Iron Fist Alexander, a warrior jar from Jarburg. He's on a journey, he says, traveling the lands between to test his mettle against worthy opponents. But right now, he's in a bit of a bind, literally. Buried in the earth and unable to free himself, he asks you for a favor. Give him a good, solid whack. It's not the request you expect from a stranger in this world. Most meetings here are cautious at best, hostile at worst. But Alexander trusts you instantly, smiling as if there's no doubt in his mind that you'll help. And when you do, when you wind back and strike, he rocks free with the shower of dirt, landing upright and laughing like you just shared a drink instead of a blow. He thanks you with a genuine delight and teaches you the triumphant delight gesture. Hands raised high overhead, joy unrestrained. And in that moment, he's more than just a quirky encounter. He's a philosophy in motion. Face challenges head on, honor those who fight, and celebrate the struggle as much as the victory. When you leave Stormhill, the fields don't feel the same. The wolves still stalk the ridges, the wind still cuts cold, but somewhere in the back of your mind, you carry the image of a warrior jar who treats battle like a festival, and a festival like a sacred rite. And that memory pulls you forward, because if this is the way you meet him now, what will it mean when you stand beside him when the real battles begin? That answer comes sooner than you expect, not in the form of another fight, but in the sound of the same booming voice, this time muffled by wood and stone. Deep underground, inside Gael Tunnel, Alexander calls out from behind a locked door. He's close enough that you can hear him clearly, but separated by a barrier you can't yet cross. He explains he's bound for Redmane Castle to take part in the Radahn Festival, a gathering of warriors who will face the legendary General Radahn himself. His tone is equal parts excitement and reverence, in the way that some people speak about holidays that still mean something. But there's no way to join him from here. To see him again, you'll have to take the long road. That means leaving Limgrave, braving the Scarlet Rot and skeletal dogs of Caelid, and circling back to the tunnel's far side. It's a deliberate bit of design. The game makes you work for this reunion, and in the process, you see the cost of the path Alexander walks. Caelid isn't just dangerous, it's suffocating. The air feels sick, the earth is cracked and raw, and yet, somewhere out there, Alexander is making his way through the same landscape, driven by the promise of a battle that matters. When you finally open the other door, the sight of him feels earned. He stands ready, his voice as warm as ever, speaking about the festival like it's an honor just to attend. And in that moment you understand, Alexander isn't chasing glory. He's chasing belonging. The chance to stand among warriors who value courage as much as he does. And Redmane Castle is waiting. The path from Gael Tunnel to Redmane Castle feels different once you know where you're going. You're not just moving toward another dungeon or boss fight. You're following in Alexander's footsteps. Every enemy you pass, every room you skirt, is a reminder that somewhere ahead, he's doing the same, closing the distance between himself and a legend. Redmane Castle, under normal circumstances, is a fortress bristling with hostility. Its walls scarred by centuries of war, its soldiers hardened by the rot and ruin of Caelid. But when you arrive for the festival, the air has changed. Crossing the bridge, you hear it first. The low hum of voices, armor shifting as warriors adjust their stance, and somewhere under it all, the faint rhythm of drums. Firelight spills into the courtyard, banners ripple against the wind, and fighters from across the lands between stand side by side. Grizzled knights, wandering sorcerers, even assassins who stepped out of the shadows for this one day. They all wait for the gates to open, and Alexander is here among them. His voice carries over the crowd, rich with anticipation. He speaks about Radahn the way others speak about ancient heroes. Less is a target and more is a threshold. For him, this is more than a fight. It's a rite of passage. The festival reframes Caelid itself. Outside the castle walls, the sky still bleeds red. The ground still crawls with sickness. But inside, for just a moment, courage is the currency. Every warrior here has come to measure themselves against a living mountain, and Alexander stands in their ranks without hesitation. When the gate opens, it'll be time. When the festival master gives the word, the courtyard erupts into motion. The gates creak open, and behind them, the dunes stretch wide under a blood-red sky. The wind howls across the battlefield, carrying with it the distant thunder of hooves and the deep, unnatural hum of gravity magic bending the air. If you call Alexander to your side, he charges forward with the same fearless energy you saw in Stormhill, only now, it's magnified. Against the backdrop of this war-torn desert, his silhouette is impossible to mistake, a round-shouldered colossus sprinting across the sand, the ground trembling with each step. And then there's Radahn, a titan on horseback, bow drawn, pulling the stars themselves into his orbit. Every arrow carves a trench in the earth. Every swing of his blades feels like it could split the world in two. Around you, the warriors fall and rise again, each charged in an act of defiance. Alexander never wavers. He runs headlong into danger. His strikes ring out like a drumbeat. In a fight that's equal parts chaos and legend, he's not the strongest warrior here, but you get the sense he's actually where he wants to be. When Radahn finally falls, whether it's your blade, a lucky strike from a comrade, or the combined fury of everyone on the field, Alexander greets the moment with humility. He doesn't gloat, doesn't posture. He talks instead about his injuries, about the work still ahead, about training harder to be worthy of the company he keeps. It's in that quiet after the storm that his philosophy becomes clear. Strength isn't a title you claim, it's something you earn again and again. And the road to earning it will take him far from Caelid. From Caelid's red sands, the world shifts. The air in Liurnia feels lighter, washed clean by the mist rolling off the Great Lake. Cliffs of pale stone rise out of the water, and the sounds of gulls replace the constant roar of battle. It's a kind of breathing space, the sort you don't get often in the lands between. And there, on a grassy rise overlooking the rooftops of Jarburg far below, you find him again. Alexander stuck in the earth just like before, but with a grin that said he's already made peace with the situation. He knows you can help him, just as you did at Stormhill, but this time, he offers advice. Use something to loosen him up first, then a solid strike to finish the job. It's a small change, but it matters. The rescue isn't just something you do for him now, it's something you do with him. A problem solved together, the way comrades might work through a tactical puzzle on a battlefield. And when he bursts free, laughing as always, he rewards you with exalted flesh. For most, it's just an item. A simple buff to physical attack power. But coming from Alexander, it feels symbolic. A gift from a warrior who literally grows stronger by carrying the fallen within himself. The rooftops of Jarburg glint in the distance as you part ways. A quiet little village untouched by war. It seems like the sort of place a warrior might one day return to. Though, in the lands between, peace rarely waits for anyone. Alexander's path is still ahead, and the next step will take him into the hottest, harshest trial yet. Following Alexander's trail into Mount Gelmir feels like stepping into another world entirely. The air wavers with heat, the sky tinted with volcanic haze, and the ground crunches underfoot where ash has settled like snow. Seathwater Terminus lies ahead, and in the center of its molten lake, half submerged in rolling magma, stands Alexander. He's calm, almost casual, as if this isn't one of the most hostile environments in the lands between. The lava swirls and spits around him, but he explains his reasoning as if it's obvious. Clay must be tempered to become stronger, and nothing tempers like fire. This is training, he says. This is how a warrior jar prepares for the battles to come. The sight borders on absurd. This massive jar marinating in a volcano, but the intent is deadly serious. Alexander isn't chasing shortcuts. He's enduring something most wouldn't dare approach, not for a reward, but for an ideal. In a world where so many characters fight for vengeance, power, or survival, his purpose feels strangely pure. From an author's perspective, it's one of the clearest distillations of his character. No enemy to defeat, no immediate gain, just self-imposed hardship in the name of being ready for the moment when it matters most. The heat here isn't just in the air, it's in the will to suffer for something you believe in. And the next time you see him, that will be put to the test. The next time you cross paths with Alexander, the heat of Gelmir is long behind you. Snow drapes the land now, muting sound, swallowing color and sharpening the air until every breath feels like glass in your lungs. This is the mountaintop of the giants, a place where even the strongest warriors leave shallow footprints before the wind erases them. Near the arena of the fire giant, you spot something familiar, a summon sign glowing in the snow. There's no booming greeting this time, no story to share, no challenge issued, just an unspoken offer to face another impossible battle together. It's a quiet moment, but it carries the weight of every meeting before. You fought alongside him in the Radahn Festival. You watched him temper himself in the heart of a volcano, and you've seen him treat every encounter as both test and celebration. Standing here, the invitation is clear. This is another chance to stand shoulder to shoulder to carry the fight as one. The battle with the fire giant is brutal. Blizzards whipping across the arena, the ground splitting under colossal steps. Alexander throws himself into the fight without hesitation, his strikes booming like war drums in the snowstorm. And when it's over, win or lose, you feel that shared sense of having stood together in a place few would dare to tread. But this is not the end of his journey. The moment that will define him and you still waits. The winds in Farum Azula don't just howl, they scream. Stone bridges twist and splinter into the air, suspended over nothing, while lightning bleeds through the sky that can't decide if it's night or day. Everything here feels on the edge of collapse, and somewhere in the middle of it stands Alexander. He's not stuck, not training, not preparing for some other fight. He's waiting. His voice is steady when he speaks, deeper than before, like the words have been weighed in his mind for a long, long time. He tells you what he wants. One last duel, not to prove himself, not to seize some title, but because this is how he's always imagined his end, meeting it in the heat of battle against someone he respects. There's no fanfare, no crowd, just two warriors, the runes and the storm. When the fight begins, Alexander doesn't hold back. Every strike is decisive, every movement purposeful. The culmination of everything he sought since you first met. And with each blow you land in return, there's an unspoken understanding. This isn't about winning, it's about honoring the journey. When the final strike falls, there's no bitterness in him, only gratitude. He thanks you sincerely, as if you've given him a gift rather than taken his life. In his place, he leaves two things: the Shard of Alexander, a talisman that greatly strengthens your attack power, and his innards, the literal core of who he was. In the language of the lands between, these are rewards, but in the language of Alexander's story, there's something else entirely. A legacy, something meant to be carried forward. And carrying it will lead you back to the quiet village you saw from the cliffs of Liurnia, the ruins of a place where the sky is breaking apart. Jarburg hasn't changed since you first saw it from that cliffside. The stone houses still sit neatly in rows, the gardens are still tended, and the wind still moves softly through the grass. It's the kind of place that feels untouched by the violence of the lands between, until you arrive carrying Alexander's core. The smallest of the warrior jars waits for you on a simple wooden stool. He's eager in a way that reminds you of Alexander's first greeting in Stormhill, hopeful, open, and ready for the day he can prove himself. When you hand him the innards, there's no ceremony, no music to mark the moment. It's a quiet exchange, more personal than any festival or battle. You leave knowing he understands, even if only in part, what you've given him. And when you return later, he's gone. In his place rests the companion jar talisman, a small object, but one that feels heavier than the weight it suggests. It's the final link in a chain that began with Alexander's voice calling out across the wind. Jarburg remains the same, but you know it's changed. Somewhere out there, another warrior jar is walking a path towards battles worth fighting, carrying forward the strength and spirit of the one who came before. Alexander's story stands out in a world defined by ambition, betrayal, and decay. He never sought a throne. He never tried to bend the lands between to his will. His life's purpose was simpler, and in some ways braver. He wanted to grow stronger, honor the fallen, and share in the battles that meant something. From the moment you free him in Stormhill to the final duel in Farum Azula, his path is marked not by conquest, but by connection. Every meeting is a test, every parting a promise. And when the end comes, he meets it with the same joy and dignity he carried into every fight. That's why he lingers in players' memories long after the credits roll. Not because he was the strongest, or the most important to the story's outcome, but because he was one of the few who made the lands between feel warmer just by being there. In a world where almost everything breaks, Alexander's greatest victory wasn't any battle he fought. It was the example he left behind. The reminder that strength is worth more when you carry it for someone else. So who is Alexander? He's a warrior, a friend, and a legend in his own right. And like all legends worth remembering, his story doesn't end when he falls. It lives on. In Jarburg, in the talismans you carry, and in the memory of a jar who taught you that even in a broken world, there's still honor in the fight.